authority, integrity focus on one hand, family, tenderness, cultural notions on the other, empowerment on one hand and vulnerabilities on the other. What no matter the world says or sees, the women yesterday has steadily walked ahead of today and advancing towards tomorrow, committed and determined. Today's women live equally on edge with her man to see the balance of life along with the balance by nature. Hello everyone, this is Anshu Jain from Qatar Day, and on today's special segment, Qatar Day presents the Candid Talk, Women Today. We bring to you a panel discussion by four of such balancing, well-versed and prominent women who are entities of inspiration in their own shoes. And today, the first member from our esteemed panel I introduce to you is Ms. Asna Nafees, Principal of DPS MIS Qatar since 2011, and an awardee of excellence in her role and remarkable achievement as the principal. She has bettered the best. She also received letters of appreciation from CBSE and HRD Ministry of India for encouraging inclusion in schools. She has attended and conducted several professional teaching programs on leadership and communication, career guidance, value education, and counseling. Welcome on board, Ms. Nafees. Our next panel member I introduce is the co-founder and COO of Q Tickets, Ms. Aarti Mahajan, a versatile young entrepreneur of a company that stretches its influence and institutions across 3 continents of the world. She, with her dedication and assurance, ensures that her company Q Tickets remain number 1 in serving all relevant requirements of its clients in GCC and worldwide. Welcome on board, Ms. Mahajan. Our third member on the panel is a passionate English teacher in high school and colleges for over 4 decades. Ms. Malini Sahani. She evinces a keen interest in reading, writing, gardening, traveling, and interacting with people. A motivational speaker who is passionate about counseling adolescents and hopes to bridge the gap between them and their parents. Welcome on board, Ms. Sahani. And our final member joining us on the panel is the owner of Allegiance Advisors Private Limited for the past 20 years. Ms. Masarrat Faqih. Her entity handles net worth individuals, millennials, and prominent sectors of entertainment industry. She is also a qualified transformational coach from California and skilled in banking, equities, and customer services. Welcome on board, Ms. Faqih.
Thank you.
Ms. Faqih, I would want to begin with you. I'm pretty sure that this discussion is going to be really a power-packed one because we have got all the powerful women belonging to different entities, different sectors, and making sure that they are performing to the best of their abilities. When we talk about women, we have heard different versions of womanhood. But I would want to know from you, Ms. Faqih, according to you, what defines a woman?
So I would like to start by saying something about my background. So I come from a very Indian traditional background, brought up in a Muslim family. And so that was many years back. And at the time you would get some education. It was a small town that I grew up with. It's Bhiwandi. And you got educated because that would make you eligible for a marital partner. So my role would have been to get married and have kids and perhaps work, just to kill time or just to kind of satisfy some internal yearning of mine. And that was the old paradigm of womanhood at the time. But what I found for myself that was something that it was very soul crushing for me. I did not feel that I felt satisfied, and I felt a yearning inside of me. And I also felt that I had talents, I was intelligent, I had capabilities, and more important, I felt like there was something inside which was wanting to come out. So for me, I chose to define my own life, and that to me is what I define for myself as womanhood. And I felt that what I was trying to do is actually fulfill what was my yearnings and focus on my career, and also do development work where I feel that where the best version of me comes out, and I'm able to contribute not just to my life but to other people's life. So basically I would say femininity basically is to really tap into my own feminine attributes and bring them out in the best way that I fulfill myself, at the same time I'm serving other people. So to me, a woman is basically somebody who represents, and there is no judgment about this life, or somebody chooses to be just a housewife and looks after the family. For me, whatever, basically it is essentially what you are doing is you are taking charge of what is yearning to come out and fulfill that. To me, that autonomy, that independence, that leeway is what defines to me as womanhood
That's
in
wonderful.
today's time. Yeah.
I guess what you are intending to say is when we live our life at our own terms, this is what defines women, irrespective of whatever belief or we think or whatever ambitions or goals that we have.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Sani, I would want to ask the same question to you. We know that the condition has changed drastically if we compare the women of yesterday and the women of today. There's a vast difference, not just focusing on the particular sector of the society or any particular nation, but globally as a whole. So how do you see the women today? How would you define the women today?
Well, Anshu, for me, the definition of a woman would definitely be different from what the youngsters see it as today. Okay, a woman was supposed to be created to complement man. And what happened is she found herself slipping into the role of a homemaker. Her duties were defined as a mother, a sister, a mother, grandmother, and so on. And of course, the upkeep of the house was entirely hers. She had very little connection with the others. But if I look at it from my life, I would say I was fortunate. I had parents who had a broader outlook. They wanted me to go in for education. And teaching somehow seemed to be a passion for me from a young age. So I got all the encouragement I could. And what the definition of a woman at that time for me changed, that at least she does have that capacity to go out, earn a living, interact with people. But again, Anshu, there were limits to that. For us, it was work, back home, back to our housework, and life went on. That little cocoon in which I was in, between school and myself. And I decided that it was time I came out of it. It was then that I started speaking my mind to motivate children. It started with children in school, then gradually I was called to other schools to speak. So again, the definition changed. I found that I was not just a puppet at home. I was not just one God's gift to limit myself to certain things, but I could reach out to people. Yeah. So the definition slowly changed, that a woman is not only meant for her household chores, but she also has other aspects which could help society. And when I came out of it, it is then that I started encouraging girls to come out, involve themselves in extracurricular activities, and not just book learning. Because as Mona said earlier, education was, oh, you're educated, so you get a better partner in life. But I found more meaning than just getting a partner. I found that I could do a lot of good to the world. And then I started concentrating through the written work as well as to the oral. I started communicating with people, and I found that that gave me more satisfaction than just restricting myself as a woman. So a definition of a woman would now mean what you make of your life.
Exactly.
Because every woman has different inner feelings. And those things or talents, they could use that to come out to the world, to reach out to people who are less fortunate.
Exactly. So it is not just about living for ourselves, but at the same time, parallelly thinking about others too. I'm pretty sure, Miss Aarti Majan, you can definitely correlate and resonate with what Miss Sahani has just mentioned, because you are taking in charge, of charge of not just your life, but the business that you're handling in such a massive way. And we can see that Q Tickets is growing by leaps and bounds with every single day, and the kind of incorporations which are happening. How do you define the women today and the role that you are playing currently?
Absolutely, Anshu. So just adding to which, what Malini just mentioned and Faki just mentioned, so I will just be, it was a combination of both for me. Probably coming from a family, I belong to a business class family where, and especially from Punjab, where girls are like, you're done your graduation, okay, now it's time to get married. So coming from that kind of atmosphere, and adding on to what she just mentioned, that it is much more than just finding the right partner, okay, because you belong to the, probably I'm the first woman in my entire family history to step out of the family, not just the family, not just India, crossing borders, working cross borders, and taking my what I believed in. So according to me, I mean, I think probably everybody would have their own definition, right? But for me, it's about being strong and independent, and really, going for your dreams and not letting anything stop you. So it's not having your, it's just about having your beliefs and staying true to them. This is what I have learned, and this is for me is womanhood. Just believe in yourself.
Mhm. Exactly. Most importantly, it is about staying true to yourself. And I guess it is applicable to not
Absolutely.
just women, but every single person of this world. Great.
Absolutely.
Ms. Nafis, I would want to know from you. You have had a very diverse kind of career. When I say this, I mean you belong to the education industry, this particular field, but then you have traveled to so many places. How easy it was for you, or how difficult it was for you, I should rather ask this question, to live life in your own terms? Because being a woman, uh, it is never so easy. We normally follow the men in our family as per their career, their ambitions, that is always kept the priority in life. But how easy it was for you to embark that journey and then follow the path that you are into?
Yes, Anshu, indeed, I would also like to just say from what background I come. I come from, like Masarat mentioned, a very moderate, conservative Muslim family with four young girls growing up with one older brother or sibling. And very surprisingly, the type of childhood that we spent it looking up to parents who were very should I say, conservative but very moderate in their approach to life, and who strongly believe that, education empowers. So we were asked to go to schools where our brothers studied. There was no difference between the siblings. We were treated equally. And very surprisingly, we saw a father who, even in those good old days and times, was willing to take up responsibilities of the home front also. As and when required, both parents would, own up responsibility for the home front. It was not that just Ammi did everything. So we saw Baba in a role which was very surprisingly, uh, very, very friendly towards the women folk of the home. And he said there was nothing so small about doing work at home. It's perfectly all right for men to contribute in the growth of or the development of their children also, just not earning and bringing in money and allowing the woman to take care of everything else. So very surprisingly, we grew up in an environment like this, and we were given the strength and the belief that, you are as good as anybody else who's born into this world, irrespective of what gender you belong to. But yes, we were also given our fine lines, like Ms. Malini mentioned, that, the fine lines of good parenting, good, quality parenting systems, which taught us what's right from wrong and the fine line between the two. So that has helped us in good and kept us in good stead. All the four siblings, the girl siblings, are doing extremely well. And what I really found very surprising is that my parents never were very over ambitious about us. They said, "You educate, we educate you. You will find your way forward. You don't have to, go hunting for it in a big way." And I was married very young. I was 18, and I think resilience is what defines a woman. Being married at 18, being able to manage your married existence in a joint family with large number of people, of course, again, very friendly people, and a husband who really stood by me all through my journey, and being able to take decisions for myself are things that were, the foundation was laid at home in my parents' home, but I think my in-laws contributed equally in my growth and my journey. Very rarely would you find a husband who says, "Go ahead, find your ways, I'm okay with it." So I traveled alone to Doha. I did not come with the family here. He was okay. He said, "I'll take care of the kids. You go ahead. It's your call. You want to grow and you feel happy contributing. Go ahead." So I think these are things that you really need to consider, that a woman is emotionally extremely strong, and if she decides, there is nothing that can stop a woman. I have learned over the years that it's just not your own growth that is important. Along with you, a lot more people look up to you as inspiration. And I'm so happy that a lot of children look up to me as inspiration. And it gives me a lot of happiness and satisfaction that I'm able to contribute in whatever little way to the lives of so many people around me. My teachers look up to me. They want to become people who can, dream and achieve that dream.
Exactly. I
So
mean,
I think this is a good platform to discuss all these things.
exactly. I'm pretty sure there are so many who look up to you, and I'm one of them.
Thank you so much.
Well, and as you rightly said, what is of extreme importance is standing up for oneself, and that is what makes us whatever we are today. We know that the era that we come from, in 1911, when the celebration of Women's Day started, that is International Women's Day, the reason that time it was important to come up with any such term, because the condition of the women were very different, as all of us are aware, very well aware of the past, that the global condition of women, they were not at all recognized. They were not even given uh, the basic idea even of voting. They were not even allowed to vote. Forget about everything else. But now the state we are in, it is altogether different. It has evolved. It has transformed. Ms. Faki, I would want to ask you a question in that case. Today as well, when we know that today the women have started standing up for their rights, have started speaking up for themselves and living their dreams. Although, having said that, gender equality is still a long way to go. There is a lot that has to be achieved. But when we celebrate Women's Day, is it basically a mechanism that we are trying to fool ourselves to believe that yes, we are still weaker than other section of the society, or we are not equivalent to anyone else? What is your opinion about it?
So, what I would say to it, even celebrating Women's Day has transitioned. The motivation has been very different. Like you said, in the early 1900s, when it started, it was in New York the first time women were protesting. That was, I understand it was a textile industry. And then it went down to civil rights and right to vote, right to property, all of that. So I think now what and there is a lot which has happened in between then and now. You're seeing more and more women really taking positions of power. They are really being change makers. So I don't think it is necessarily about it. It depicts a weaker position, but I do feel it is, in my opinion, I haven't really gone to the depths of it, but I do feel it is an acknowledging, a validation, a celebration of where we've come. We've really come a long way. I mean, you see, in the last 50 years or maybe 70 years, women have really made their global presence, like Margaret Thatcher, Indira Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I mean, these were the odd ones, a very few ones. I wouldn't say odd ones, but you see increasing the numbers really going up. So I feel, and I'm not saying that we really caught up in terms of equality. So there is a mix, in my opinion, a mix between, there is still a struggle to really gain that truly equal position in terms of wages, in terms of all the rights. And at the same time, there is a celebration of how far we have come.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think there to me, it is it's a mix of celebration, and at the same time we still, there is an underlying, there is an what you call covert protest or struggle to really be equal in every manner. So it's like we are living in probably in cities or metros, so they may not be it, and yet we see some kind of a disparity, or what do a gender bias. So I think we've not reached the level that where we need to be there. So hence, it, to me, in my mind, it's a combination of celebration, and it is a silent kind of the struggle that continues.
That continues. So it is basically the
That's right.
acknowledgement of what women have achieved so far, facing all these struggles and
Right.
facts that have come their way. Masani, what
Right.
take on it?
Coming to or catching on from what Mona said, I too believe that Women's Day is not really something that we flaunt and say that, oh, we're there, we're equal to men. That's just an eyewash. Because I've done a lot of family counselings too, where you find educated women coming from good families, the struggle they still have, because what we see is the facade, but there is still that underlying current wherein a woman has thin lines drawn which she has to toe and not cross that as yet. She has, no matter how very few men would you find actually taking on a part in the housework. I have seen women in Kerala, in Bengal. I've spent all my life in Bengal. And what I see is the woman comes home, and there was this particular lady I used to watch, and she comes home, she doesn't have time to even change. The husband is home, she has to serve the husband, tucks up her sari, and I see her rushing to the kitchen. So they're both working in the same office, mind you. And I said, aha, there we are. We're not yet there. The man can come, kick off his shoes and take up a newspaper and read it, while the woman has to rush to her work. There is no consideration as yet by many. I would not classify all as the same, but I have seen many cases where women, although they appear very liberated, there is still that bit of suppression. The woman has to go out of her way to actually make both a balance between her career and home. And mind you, that way I feel proud to say that I find women are mentally far stronger than men. Physically, I agree, they may be stronger than us, but emotionally, mentally, I feel we are stronger. We can adjust to circumstances. We can even take a lot of pressure and work under pressure. And also at the same time, with a smiling face, look after our children. We tackle the stress of the work front. And do you call that equality? It is not. I wouldn't call it equality. So you understand. And probably Women's Day is a step to probably bring us out of that depression and show us, hey, we are the same as men. But who are we fooling? We're just fooling ourselves. But at the same time, I would say Women's Day would be a recognition of those women who have managed to break the barriers, come out and make a world for themselves.
Exactly.
Because earlier it was just suppression. The woman had no means to fend for herself. So if she was ill-treated, there was no way she could come out of it. But today I'm proud to say many have come out and made a living for themselves.
Right. Now the world is changing. The way we look at women is changing, but not exactly to the scale where it should be. Ms. Marjan, I would want to ask you a question. I mean, it is related to what Ms. Sani has just now mentioned. I was going through a study yesterday which says that women are much more emotionally dependent on others. And this happens because women go through a lot of hormonal changes as compared to men. The transformation that our body goes through because of the certain features which it's only women are blessed with. Whether it is about fertility, it is about lactation and multiple more things. And hence, because of that, we go through a lot of hormonal changes. And because of certain reasons, that those all coming together tend to make us a little more weaker as compared to man. What is your thought about it?
See, Anshu, from where Malini just left, and of course, again, where Faki just left, so I would just want to add first, for me personally, I feel it's definitely we are not there where we have to be, but yes, I still feel things have progressed a lot. I will just come to the first one, where you just mentioned that whether we are treated equivalently, and so I think things have progressed, and they are still evolving for sure. And for me, it's a combination, right? It's a combination of struggle and celebration. So as we all know that, we don't need occasions to celebrate life, right? But we definitely need people to feel the celebration along with you. So while we are busy with our day-to-day life, with our stress levels, with our target levels, with our hormonal changes, and we have no time to celebrate, right? So I think when you balance your time and people around you, that's when you feel good. That's when you feel happy. That's when you feel blessed and celebrated. So I think coming back to the equivalent thing, it's a combination. So happy to see that we are progressing, we are evolving, though not yet there. But yes, if we compare to what my mom used to do and what I am doing today, I think I cannot just compare. I cannot just compare. So I think happy to see that we are progressing again. And emotional, I think yes, we are emotional, but, but at the same time, we are much more stronger when we decide something. Okay, I think we decided, and we just work towards it. As Asna just mentioned, from coming from a family where she had 4 sisters and 1 brother, and I think it's about the ecosystem also, which is around, which makes you make or break, right? So she had a husband who supported her, who came out and said, okay, no problem, you travel alone to Doha. But I come from a background where after 7 o'clock in the evening, girls are not supposed to move out of the house, because even if you step out, there are 10 cars which probably will follow you to your house, and the parents are not, they don't feel safe about it. So I think it's about the ecosystem. It's about the people who are around you. It's a support system at the end of the day. So, emotionally, we all have our plus and minus, but yes, with the ecosystem, it stops up everything.
Exactly. I guess
So that's my take on this.
yeah, the circumstances around us may play a very important role in making
Absolutely.
whatever we are today. There is no second thought about it. Ms. Nafis, I would
Absolutely.
want to highlight, thank you so much, Ms. Marjan. Ms. Nafis, I would want to highlight a point. Women's Day is celebrated to acknowledge the efforts or recognize the contributions of women in various industries and fields like economic, financial, political, social, family, everywhere. Whereas I just learned that there is something called as International Men's Day as well. And International Men's Day is celebrated to raise awareness about men's health, improving gender relations, and promoting gender equality. I am a bit, I don't know what, skeptical about this thought when it comes to gender equality and which is associated with International Men's Day. All right. So I would want to know that has this take on women empowerment has been so hefty that men feel the need to be treated equally?
Uh, Anshu, I think we have to, take this in a very, very pragmatic way.
Mhm.
Now, we are all born equal.
Mhm.
It's how society views, or, a very, the way society puts certain rules, laws, the philosophies around how, the upbringing of a girl or a boy has to happen, that actually leads to the differences. Yes, we are all born with our inner strength. Definitely, in so many ways, there is no need to compete with anybody at all, be it the other gender or with anybody for that matter. It's good to be an individual to yourself, true to yourself. But the way society has, pushed us into thinking differently by creating different laws for women, different laws for men, roles, responsibilities. Probably at times, maybe men also feel that, in certain spaces, not always, that there could always be individual men who are feeling harassed who require that they mark a day called the Men's Day too. Because if you look at it, what is a Women's Day celebration? A Women's Day celebration is just to mark that, okay, we were somewhere, we have progressed to a certain extent. But I think every single day is a woman's day because it is women who hold on to so many difficult situations. And it is women who are so strong emotionally. Okay, right. Physically, we may not be as strong as, but emotionally, in spite of whatever hormonal changes we go through, I think if you push a woman against the wall and you see the worst coming out of it, you will find that she will take up that, in a very Indian parlance, the Shakti mode. And anything can be achieved after that. There is no stopping, there is no societal barriers, there is nothing that can prevent a woman from achieving. What I feel strongly is that we don't need to compete with anybody. Unfortunately, yes, in spite of all the societal divides that are happening, the gender bias that exists, women are doing quite well when compared to what they were in the past, confined to homes, confined to certain roles and responsibilities, nothing beyond that. But if you look at it, it is a journey of the mankind. And nothing is going to be all right within the next 50 years also, unless the mind here changes on treating women equally, not for any physical strength or emotional strength, or just for being equally human with the same amount of sensitivities, same amount of policies that we come with. Like Ms. Malini mentioned, yes, there are lots of women who look very strong. The facade is, like I'm liberated, I'm having the energy, I'm having the strength to achieve. But back home, there is a lot of physical abuse, there's a lot of mental abuse, there's a lot of sexual abuse that nobody wants to address. If that changes, we as women have won. We have the right towards how we are used in society or how we represent ourselves in society. So if that little thing changes, and I think it's again just educating every person towards the sensitivities of another, be it a boy or a girl. It's not necessary that we only educate our girls or our boys alone. We have to educate both of them to respect the individual differences, the biological genetic differences. And I think if we reach or balance that out, we should be better off. School education, I think, has a big role in this because we somehow do not address topics of this sort in our classrooms. We should have a subject where, we talk about gender equality and why it is important. Not that a woman should start becoming a man in her roles or a man should become a woman. It's about how you balance it and where you want to match it. So that's more important. So whether there's a men's day or a women's day celebration, it's immaterial unless that change happens within your own mind. And that change should impact society.
Very true. You have described it so beautifully. It is all about, eventually we all are human beings and we are born with the same right, and it is all about respecting it, and more than that, it is about understanding it and following it. Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Nafees. Ms. Faki, I would come back to you. I would want to ask you one question. Whenever, if you would see any women becoming the CEO of any company, you yourself are the entrepreneur and you're the owner and founder of your firm. It is termed as like when Indra Nooyi, she was with PepsiCo, it was like Indian women. Why this always women? That it is labeled as that women is running or ruling an industry. It is highlighted, but this is not the case with the men. Does women empowerment mean suppressing men? Is that the reason?
I don't think so. Women empowerment means suppressing women, suppressing men. So I just want to take this, rewind a bit to your earlier question about men's celebration, Men's Day celebration, which I was not aware, and I was just looking into it. And what I understand, the genesis of that is men were feeling when the Women's Day was celebrated, they were feeling kind of not acknowledged for the role they play, which is that of a protector. So while it is true that we want to be equals and we are born equals, but there are certain physiology plays a very important aspect in the roles that we have, probably we've inherited, or like a man was always seen as a provider, and he has been a provider, a protector, maybe because of physical, more strength, like Miss Malini mentioned. Men are men are stronger, and women are they're nurturers. We give birth, so that makes us as So there are certain inherent gender roles which are just there because of physiology. So men were feeling kind of marginalized, and I think the idea is it's good to have both, and it's important that we don't marginalize men, because it's like, we've been marginalized for so many years that it's like a revenge. So there has to be some a mutual inclusiveness. So in my opinion, coming back to your question about if women, just could you repeat the question again, once again?
Empowerment mean suppressing men?
No, I don't think so. I think, to me, what it would mean is essentially what we were not allowed to do earlier, that if I had a potential to be the CEO, earlier I could not even think about it. Today, I feel that I'm capable. Why shouldn't I be a CEO? Because I have those potentials, and just because if I'm a woman, I should not be allowed. So to me, it is, women empowerment doesn't mean suppressing men, but it is more about, you're taking charge of your own life, and you are kind of owning what was meant to be yours. So it is, to me, it's definitely not about suppressing men. I think we don't need to have this competition that men are superior or women are not superior either. It's not always a competition. We have our roles, we can play our roles, and yet at the same time the roles could change, and we need to be comfortable with them. And you need to really, it should be, if you're capable of something, it should not be not given to you because you're a man or a woman. So it is essentially, there should be what you call an inclusiveness, a mutual inclusiveness of both genders in the society. And that will find kind of harmony, peace, understanding. So, yeah.
Right, it is exactly what you have said is exactly right. In the sense, this point of this question of suppression comes in front of all of us, because we have been seeing women getting suppressed for so long. And now when we talk about women
Absolutely.
empowerment, there's a gender of the society, there's a sector of the society who is in the favor of it, who would come ahead and promote and support in every possible way they can. But at the same time, there's particular category who is trying to suppress this entire issue in the best possible way they can, because they believe in case women are coming in the front. I would just want to put one example here. I still remember the time when women, they started wearing trousers. There was a lot of questions that had come in the front, that are women trying to take up men's role? They are trying to dress like men. What is the scenario? What are they trying to do? What are they trying to portray? So many issues. It is not just about dressing. It is about the work culture. So many issues had come up that time, but now the world is changing. Ms. Sani, an era did exist where inequality was obvious. But today, I would like to know, is this imbibing women on the lower end as either objects of maltreatment, or on the higher end as statues of sacrifices? Is this approach correct? What do you think about it?
Well, as I had spoken to you earlier, and Nafisa had repeated that we live in a world, in a make-believe world at times. We see our colleagues coming to work, smiles, well-dressed. That's not life. Beyond that, there is a life. And I think, if I may just go back on what you said about Men's Day, women have been suppressed in many classes, in different parts of the world. Now, what we see, we consider a European woman as being very forward. And mind you, among them too, there's a lot of maltreatment, there's a lot of wife bashing going on, there's a lot of frustration. So what I mean to say is, let us not fool each other by the facade, by what we see. That's just a facade. You don't know behind how much of sorrow that woman is concealing behind that beautiful smile she gives every morning, because expectations are high on her. Now remember, she's a human being. If she can work for 8 hours a day like a man, why is it that only she has to struggle in the house with the children? And I would say it's a compliment also to a woman, because I feel we can multitask, whereas I find this a big no with the men. For example, even if a gentleman, if I would talk about my husband, if he's watching something on television and you ask him a question, wait, I'm watching. He can do only that one thing at a time, but we women, we're chopping vegetables, the milk is on the stove, the child is wanting to do something for the homework, and then the bell rings and maybe some vendor comes in. We're there running around tackling everything. And mind you, I'm not only talking about an educated woman, even a moderate middle class woman, she has to go through all this. So probably what happens now is with so much of, and there are certain societies where women were suppressed to such an extent. When I was teaching in a college here, and one of the boys came and told me that, playfully, ma'am, the girl next class, she kissed me. I said, wow, what if somebody did that to your wife? The eyes were red. No, I kill. I said, why? Because I'm a man. That was the attitude in many societies earlier. A man can do anything and get away with it, but not a woman. She has to live within her norms. Now, when society is coming out, and in order to celebrate that, this Women's Day thing, Mother's Day thing, can I put a simple fact across to you? I feel it is more commercial than what it really is. The business people are having a gala good time. You have Valentine's Day, Women's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day, and all these days means particular things, which is what you need to buy, what you need to give, because everybody is doing it. But the real Women's Day would come out when women can come out of that facade. When women can come out and say, well, I'm not going to take this anymore. Enough is enough. The day she learns to say that, but that day will come only when she is like you or me, where we can earn our living, we can fend for ourselves. Mind you, society will tear you to pieces. I don't want to divulge much, but I'm telling you from experience. If you are alone and looking after a child and earning a good living, it's always the woman's fault. Man is never at fault. That is our society today.
Right.
So what is this celebration for? I would say each of us should celebrate the day when every woman we see around us can be open, can be frank, and not scared of showing the world what they're going through. It is the upliftment of such women that we should be looking into. Then we can celebrate Women's Day. But it seems very far away. And I hope that someday, probably my next generation would be able to see a little or throw a little more light on this and bring about. Because let me tell you, fathers are doting. They will appreciate what you do. But I have seen families where if the woman is doing better than a man, the male ego comes in. It does. Wantingly or unwantingly, it does come in. And what happens is, at that time, the woman has to bear the pressure of that male ego. Why is she earning? It's for her family. But if she earns more than the man, oh my God, hell will break loose. So these are the things in society which we must think of breaking down. I know I may be sounding, too open, but I've been seeing it over the years during my counseling sessions. And I say, where are we living? We walk around with the latest clothes, latest hairdo, up in fashion. But behind that, are we really liberated? Right. So Anshu, I really feel that till that understanding comes between the man and the woman. I have seen families where the man looks after the house. He goes for a short job, woman is earning more, but he has no problems. That is what should come into our society.
That is exactly.
It doesn't matter who is earning. The other person can always look after the children, look after the house.
It's about exchanging the roles.
You understand? Exactly. That is where we have to raise our bar in society, where that understanding comes that the woman is not earning to show off. Mm-hmm. She's doing it for her family.
Right. Exactly. Basani,
I hope the rest of you would agree with me.
We really appreciate the fact that you have been really candid. Ms. Marjan, it leads to me another question. It leads me to another question. We know that men so far have been the bread earner of our families, the way we are brought up, and but this leads to another question: that is it only the financial independence that gives them all the authority and power to do whatever they want to? Or is financial independence is the only factor that would make women independent in every possible way? Being professionally or financially independent, and how important it is. And if it is not achieved, does that mean that we will be suppressed forever? Does money play that important role irrespective of anything and everything? Or being financially independent?
See, Anshu, a very valid question, right? So I think for me, what I understand is definitely financial is an important part, no doubt about it. So because what we when we say that, okay, he's the bread earner, he's the breadwinner for the family, and we are all dependent on him. This has been there from ages with us, right? So that's how this has been perceived in us. I'm not saying that that's the only factor, but that's one of the major factors, right? But I think even if we have to think about the future, I think most important is to reshape our perceptions on how we view ourselves. That is very, very important. Until we do not change that, probably we'll live with this forever, probably. So changing perceptions is very, very important. I think money gives men the power to run the show, for sure, but it gives men the power to define our values and define what's feminine. And though it is not a very good thought, but yes, eventually I think if we reshape our society, our thoughts, I think we can probably fight this one and then come out of it. This is what I personally feel.
According to you, being financially independent is extremely important for a woman.
Definitely. See, today I am here. It's similar with us now, probably. My husband has come all the way here. It's not that I was so dependent on him that I had to stay in Delhi with my husband, right? So it's the other way around, because I have done so much for myself. I've developed the complete ecosystem where, yes, because I cannot run my businesses without finances, right? So I need to have that pocket to fund my businesses, to fund myself, to fund my family, and it's a auto driven ecosystem now. So I would say now I have recreated the story in a way that my family is here rather than me being in India, which was the traditional norm in our families, right? So I think that definitely is an important tool, according to me.
Wonderful.
Of course, it's not the only tool, but that's definitely one of the major aspects,
That plays a
according
very
to me.
important role. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Ms. Nafis, I would want to know from you, only if you are able to contribute in some manner. And here, when I'm talking about some manner, I mean monetary value. Because otherwise, we know that when it comes to taking care of the family and everything, nobody can does it. And I can bet on that the way women does it. No one ever can do it. I still remember the time when I had left my 5-year-old with my husband for some time all alone. And he was getting completely bogged down with how to manage the studies and so many things. So this is a certain thing, and I feel proud to say that yes, we are blessed with. But when we come to the other aspect, is it true that only when you're able to contribute financially or monetary value to your family, that is the only time, that is the only way where your efforts are going to be acknowledged by your family as well, or the society? Is it true?
I I don't think I would go with that thought process, because unless we don't create a equal, level field in every aspect of our existence, just not the contribution to the money part of it. Look at the homes in India which are below the poverty line, or just maybe the middle class, the lower middle class. Women run the show there. It's just not about the money part of it. In fact, they're financing their husbands also for all the wrong things, but somehow they manage it. So even there's no equal, there's no level field on which you can compare the roles of the man and the woman. Unfortunately for our society, we are not able to look at the subtle, the subtleties of how a woman handles such situations. Definitely, yes, money gives a lot of, courage to a woman, maybe a lot of confidence. But it's not the do-all and end-all of life. Look at many rich women who do not have a say in society. I can recollect of a friend of mine who came from an extremely rich business family. Like Aarti mentioned, business homes do have their own ways of looking at society. It's the man who does everything. It's the man who brings in money. Somehow women are still, ghar dekhna hai, take care of the home. And she was married as young as I was married, and unfortunately, she was not able to complete her education. She could have easily ferried flights to any part of the world to get her education completed, but it didn't happen. So it's not about just money making the difference. It's again a mindset, it's a perspective, it's on how much you want to empower a woman and what role do you see a woman in. Is it just the traditional, household chores that she has to carry on, or is she having the ability to do beyond that? And mind you, again, I would say that women have to speak up, women have to assert themselves rather than remaining in the traditional docile mode wherein they've been told, you're a girl, you have to play this role. It doesn't mean you should start wearing the man's shoes. It's not necessary. Be yourself, be true to yourself. And I think, once again, economic freedom, handling finances, handling household work, or handling any such situation should be taught equally to both the children, whether it's a girl child or a boy child. Somehow we forget to train our boys about sensitivities towards a woman, and we forget even to train our women about some very basic things. You get married and you realize, okay, this is the role that a married woman plays. Somehow we do not train that. Homes have not given us the background of what actually transpires after marriage. There's a huge change. We see a certain role model at home as a father, then you land in a home where something else is happening. And it could be really very shocking. Some amount of training in the education system should be able to, handle this situation in a little better way. Actually speaking, we do not train our children anything on handling finances, be it men or women, any of them. Where in our schools do we teach them finance, home finance, how to handle a situation at home, how to invest, way to invest, what to do? Nothing is taught at all. We are left to ourselves to fend, and then we are not able to handle. We are told always, you're a girl, try to adjust. You're a girl, you're a woman, try and adjust. Okay, fine. Adjustment has to happen. Marriage is a commitment. It's a lot of understanding between two adults. But that doesn't mean that the compromise always has to come from the woman. The man can also be told, you also need to compromise. And some amount of traditional value systems have to change. And they are changing. It's not that it's that bad a situation today. But then also, women also have to understand that because you were under pressure all these years, you do not get even with men at this point in time. You want a level playing field and let it continue that way. I still think that yes, finances are important, but it's not that just we contribute financially. Yeah. We do much beyond that, which cannot even be put into any kind of a record. Bringing a child into the world, I don't think it's a very easy experience for any woman. It's not so easy. Not that if women have not brought children into the world, they're any less. But then how do you compare this? You can't compare the role of women with that of men. But we can create a level playing field for all of us. And while hiring people, like you mentioned to somebody about being a CEO, somehow I think over the years, people, never thought of women in those roles. But slowly they are kind of believing that women can. And we trust countries with women. And India is one such good example. Where back Indira Gandhi was ruling and doing such a good job, fine job. So I think a lot of subcontinent countries have had women leaders. When you look at what Malini ma'am mentioned, Europe being very, open, liberated, women being liberated. Not many European countries or the US or the UK can, boast about such empowerment of women. Whereas in the subcontinent, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, you name it, and there are women leaders, and they are at the topmost positions of society, leading the country, leading the government. So my only humble request would always be create a level playing field, be it a boy or a girl. Let's not be competitive with each other.
Ms. Nafis, but it is such a sad thing that the contribution which is most acknowledged when we talk about women is in the field of their professional world. That is the most acknowledgement, that is the most revered one. However, what they do on a daily basis, in our day-to-day lives at home, that is hardly acknowledged. I still remember the times, I've still heard of the cases wherein people come and they directly say that what you have been doing, you just take care of daily routines, and what else? What other contributions do you make? So that I have seen happening in front of my eyes multiple times and at various places. And that's the saddest thing, that the most important job that women do, even if they're not professionally involved, but what they do at home, it is something that no one else can do. Right. But
Absolutely, Anshu, which is honestly very sad, because homemaker itself is a full-time job, and
exactly,
it's not like 9 to 6; it's like a 24/7.
4+7.
So which needs a better acknowledgement for sure, for sure.
Yeah, so that was a point which is always there in my mind. And when you spoke about women leaders, I mean, one example that comes to my mind is Queen Elizabeth II. She has been
Absolutely.
ruling. I mean, she's 90,
Strong breed.
and she's still ruling, and she plays such an important role, not just in the political front, but apart from that, as a nation as a whole. And her contributions are still acknowledged every single day, because she's involved in one or the other activity everywhere and every time. That is how it is. Ms. Waki, there is one term which is always associated with women, and that is limitation, that they should know their limitation. I don't know if you ever have heard or come across anything as such. What is this definition of right or wrong or limitation which is associated with women? How do you perceive that?
I've always been qualified as the bad girl in my family. This was when I was young. So yes, limitations is a term I'm very, very conversant with. So you need to know your limits. And so why are you asking me, why is it there? That's definitely the cultural thing which has been passed on for so many years. And personally, I didn't pay attention to that. So I followed my heart. And in the process, the same people who were criticizing me, today they praise me, they acknowledge me for my accomplishments. So definitely there is always this, that women, and I'll tell you, one of the things about limitation is, like, if I'm in a conversation and you're dealing with a lot of stress, you run a business, and I'm sure all of you have your own stresses, and when you're getting angry, if a man gets angry, or he's not termed as aggressive, a woman is always termed as aggressive. So this is one of the examples of limitations, that my limitation, I should know, regardless of the circumstances, I have to maintain my cool, which is a very good thing if I manage, because it speaks well for myself. But if I sometimes lose it, I don't have to be defined as aggressive. I mean, you can lose it too. So there are limitations, and so this is also about the perceptions that are being carried forward from the past. And I think as society evolves, as the culture changes, this too shall kind of phase out. So I want to just bring one thing, what Malini was saying about men still, like, even if you're working outside, I know this for myself, I will still come back and do a lot of housework. But I do want to acknowledge one thing. You don't see that so much happening in the new generation. The millennials, they're changing. So I think, I don't know what is it about. So I don't have kids, so I really don't know, is it parenting, or is it the social media, or is it they're moving along more like equals. So they don't have these earlier baggage that we carry. So some of us probably are in the transitional generation, and so all these limitations and defined roles still play a very huge part in our generation. But I do feel the next generation will be different. Yeah, so that's my take on limitation and generally the
It is
biases.
that should be taken care of. Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Faki. Ms. Savani, what is your take on the limitation part and the right and wrong which is being involved, that they should be understanding that what is right and wrong for them? I would just want to put one example here. I still remember some time back when I was told that I should be thankful to my in-laws that they are letting me do so much, and but at the same time, a woman should know their limitations on how much they should be doing. And I actually did not get this point. I tried understanding it multiple times, but I was unable to understand. And thankfully, My husband is extremely supportive, and because of that reason, I'm able to do whatever I'm doing today. But what is this meaning of limitation? And why women should be thankful that our family is letting us do whatever? I mean, in the sense, men should be equally thankful to us, if I'm not mistaken, because we are letting them do whatever they're trying to do. So why should always only women be thankful about the support that they're getting from the family?
For this, what I would say is I would go back to what Nafis Asna had said, that there is no education which is given to boys and girls about telling them how they should behave with each other, how they should accept each other, plus, minus, etc. And I have walked this earth for more than 6 decades now, and I have seen the world, and what I have really found out from it is that there are places where you find, don't do that. Remember, you're a girl. Don't speak too much. You're a girl. Don't speak too loudly. Girls should not be heard. They should only be seen. Okay? But there is a flip side to it also. And I'm proud to say I'm married to a Punjabi from Delhi. And in their family, what happens is, I found a different take. You know, it was totally, I was surprised by it because I come from the South where they're more conservative. And I remember my husband and I had gone out shopping on a hot summer day. And when we came back, as usual, he said, he left the bags and said, could you make me some coffee? So I said, coffee, anyone? The brother-in-law joined in. And then my husband shouted, and cut up a sandwich too. My 86-year-old mother-in-law said, 1 minute, you go make the coffee, she'll make the sandwiches. Because both of you have come back from the same heat. So it's not fair to make her do everything. Another time when all of them wanted to come to my place, you know, in India you have 2 or 3 servants per house, which we don't have here. And the whole family wanted to come and spend a few days with us. And my mother-in-law said, no. She called my husband, said, you take a day's leave, y'all come to Delhi. So I asked her, Mom, why did you stop them from coming? She said, what would you do there? I said, we'd have fun. Who'll have fun? They would be having the fun while you'd be making rotis for them morning, noon, and night. You don't have a full-time servant, do you? So I was so shocked. So it is wrong for us to say that it is certain generations which are putting these barriers to us. It is not. It is the outlook. It is the outlook, and that I feel a change should come. You know, that paradigm should change by now. And how can it change? If, like my mother-in-law, I'm really telling you, I'm one of the luckiest girls in the world to get such a mother-in-law, but she's no more now. If the boys too in the house are trained to look at what the girls are doing, how much of work they're putting in, and how the reins of the house are in her hand in spite of all your authority. So you respect her need for rest also by pulling into the housework yourself. So he says, if the girl is working, what's the harm? She can come home tired one day, let the man get the cup of coffee for her. So this change in paradigm can come only if every family pulls into it. I think from the family, at least we in our generations and your generation, which is much younger, you should develop this in your family. Don't stress on that fact that she's a woman, so she should not do this, she should not do that. Respect the woman. Yes, the woman needs protection. I'm not that liberated when I see girls going out late in the night, 10 o'clock, they leave the house, they come back early hours in the morning. I would not like that. I'm not being old-fashioned. It is because terror lurks in every corner. Because men have not been taught, men in every society has not been taught how to treat women. So you find a lot of rapes going on, you find molestations. So from childhood, a woman should be trained. Why do we say only a woman should be trained? The boys should also be trained to respect women, to respect whatever they are doing, and not take them as somebody weak whom you can do anything with, just because you're physically stronger. So these limitations, in olden times, it was good. I remembered after 7, we were not allowed to step out of the house. Yeah, I can see ma'am nodding in agreement. No way. If I had to go even for a party or something, my father would drive me there and he would ensure that he picks me up again. There's no wandering around. Why? Because of what society was.
Exactly.
But how can we change that society? I think more than the girls now, it's the boys who need to be trained how to look at a girl. Not to look at her just as a sex object or something, but she's a woman, she has a privacy. If she's going out at night, there may be some need in the family. So, not to make her easy prey. And even in the home front, I feel limitations are good. It is good for us to keep to our limitations at certain times. But limitations should be set for both the boys and the girls also. They too should know their limitation.
Yes.
And if I think if we can sort of spread this word around and get families to look into this and change their attitude in the home front, we definitely get a better society in the future.
Very true. Definitely, limitation should be there for everyone. But girls, what they need is not the restriction, but the protection.
Protection, yeah.
Exactly. Great. Well, with that, I come to the last question of this session, which I'll be asking to both of you, and definitely afterwards, a message that you would be wanting, all of you would be wanting to give to the world. Miss Marjan, what according to you is the biggest achievement, the greatest achievements of women in this era, or what according to you that you believe is the biggest achievements for women?
I think, Anshu, there are many. Means it will be unfair to say that, okay, this one, that one, but there are many which probably I'll take a longer time to probably explain that. But I think there are a couple of them which I can probably highlight. Like I would say, because this is one space, where I think women are still very restricted, like international space, right? So I think Christina from US, because she was there for almost like 328 days in the space, which is the record for the longest single space flight by a woman. So I think that is one of the achievements, I think, which really inspires me, because that's very rare for a woman to be related to, right? And apart from that, I think recently, if you see in United Nations, right, they have passed a resolution which Her Highness Sheikh Hamoza bin Nasser, where she has proposed for International Day to protect education from attack. So I think that is one of the greatest achievement, I think, overall as a society. So I think for me, I can just name a couple of them, but I think there's much more to that, and much more that. So more to that. So that would be my understanding on this.
Talking about resilience, and the example that you had quoted just now, that shows that how resilient women are. That's how it is.
Absolutely.
Right. Great. Ms. Nafees, what according to you is the greatest achievement by women in this era?
Like Ms. Aarti mentioned, there's a lot that has changed for women.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from the school education line, I think the biggest thing that when compared to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s generation is that women were so restricted with their academics. Women would be told at home, you're done with your education, a degree is all that you require to be married and settled. I think that has changed in a very big way. A lot of new fields have opened up for women because somehow society has started accepting the fact that women should be educated, women should be given equal rights with regard to education. So if you look at women where they have reached, it's all because they got educated at some point of time. And that education has, liberated or empowered them or helped them to reach the positions they are in now. And if you look at history, it's not that women were ever, at the mercy of society or the mercy of men. You look at women, you had women in wars, you had women leading armies, and you had women heading nations. They were queens there who, handled situations. Over the years, somehow, I don't know what went wrong, that especially I would refer to our context, our country, India, that somehow we forgot that, women have the capacity and the ability to even lead maybe the armed forces, the air force, or any such command. But if you look at history of the Indian Armed Forces, we still do not have women, air commandants, or we do not have an army general. It's always men. It's a men-dominated field. I think if a woman reaches there, I would really feel, that okay, we have empowered women to take over the security or the safety of the nation. We still haven't seen too many women pilots. Of late, we are celebrating them, and we feel that okay, now women can also fly a craft.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we still have a lot of baggage that we carry from our maybe ancient traditions, societal pressures, the way we look at the women. But definitely, if given a chance, barring the physical strength of a woman, where even if she trains, she can equal anybody, I think it's again in the mind. So why is it that we are still not able to handle such or hand over such positions to women? Even now, like you said, the CEO and things like that. Why not an army commandant? Why not an air force head? Why not the navy head? So someday I think I would be very proud if we as a nation, as Indians, we could have a woman at the helm of affairs in the armed forces. So for me, I think that would be the biggest achievement. We are educating ourselves. We have a lot of people all over the world. We have sent our scientists to the space. Women scientists have gone in, but still back home, some very simple things where women can be empowered are still left as gray areas. So we'll deeply appreciate if men could look at women as equals. That's it. Nothing beyond that would be women empowerment.
Exactly. They have to start believing that yes, we are equal, and most importantly, start treating us like a human being, if nothing else.
Yeah.
That's
I would also like to add one more point. I think over the years, because we have got so, acclimatized or accustomed to the way we've been treated, we also need to change our minds. That many women think in their mind, there is a barrier. I can't do this, I can't do that. Unless you don't approach or try, you will never be able to do anything. I'm sure all of us, all the 5 members here, have given that a chance, and that's why we are where we are. Otherwise, if we would sit back thinking, in the mind's eye that we've been told this is all and nothing more, I don't think we would be where we are. So even we need to overcome our own mindset also, our incapabilities to think beyond a certain point. So women also require to do that.
that's true. True, ma'am. Thank you so very much. Ms. Saki, one message that you would want to give to the whole world, and in particularly to the women.
So I will piggyback on what Ms. Nafis said. Is essentially is it's important for women to be more introspective, more in developmental oriented, maybe do a lot of work on themselves to maintain a healthy sense of self and understand what they really deeply desire and to fulfill that. And that is basically where the change comes when you are aspiring for a higher thinking, and that's how you change societies. You're saying be more like change makers, and in being a change maker is not necessarily you have to hold positions of being an astronaut or a prime minister of the country. Like, to me, we are change makers, and we may not be impacting thousands, but even if we impact, maybe we create the change in our own environment, that's a lot. So a good positive thinking and more introspective, transformative, give more attention to these subtle things. Yeah.
Be the change maker, and change begins from within. That's how it is. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ms. Sahani, what is that one message that you would want to give to the women around and all those who are listening to you?
Well, from all that I've experienced in life, I would say don't wait to satisfy others. Get rid of that feeling, what would people say? Instead, I think it is as Musarat said, that look into yourself, do some introspection, find your strengths, and use that strength to better the world. And I feel that if each woman does that, it is not a war with men, with women, or who is greater. We're not aspiring for something for that. And if you remember what I started my talk with, right at the beginning, I had said that the scriptures themselves say, all scriptures, that woman was made to complement man. So what we can do in our thinking, if we can raise ourselves, get rid of those old baggages which you carry, this is what I should be doing, should not be doing. There is no should and shouldn't. If there is a good understanding between the two people, I think it would have a good effect on the children too. And if you can do that in your homes, there's no need for you to go out and listen to people preaching or anything. It should come from within you. And if women can do that without being aggressive,
Yes.
because I wouldn't say it's nice. There are places where, women have become like soda bottles. They've been suppressed so long that when they come out, believe me, they can be horrendous. And that is what probably a man fears nowadays. Instead of doing that, if we can subtly manage, to have a balance between what is good, what we should do and should not do, and work in liaison with your partner, with your people you work with also, I'm sure the world will become a better place. Change the paradigm of thinking. That is what is required.
Yes, I mean, it's a very nice saying in Hindi, like कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना.
लोगों का काम है कहना, correct.
So just dig deep and unleash the power within. I mean, that is what I have understood from whatever you have said. Ms. Mahachan, what is that one message that you would want to give to all the women who are listening to you, watching you right now, and how would you want to say that?
So, Anshu, I would simply say one liner, right? So I think we should just celebrate our weaknesses, our strength. We should celebrate ourselves, I think, every day. And I think we should just stay strong and bold. And nobody should define our worth by just mere tokenism. This is what I feel.
Exactly. And unless and until we are able to celebrate ourselves, nobody in the world is ever going to celebrate our journey. And one thing about
Absolutely.
the world always celebrates your success, never your darkness, never the
Very
dark
true.
side of our lives. So it is our responsibility to make sure that, yes, we achieve whatever we want to make sure that world always celebrates our success and never our darker side. Great. Wonderful.
True.
Ms. Nafis, one message that you would want to give to the entire world.
I would only say that you are born a woman, you are strong.
Mm-hmm.
Believe and trust in your own strengths, and I think you will see the world with a new perspective. Stop wearing the lens of somebody else and stop looking at yourself from somebody else's perspective. Look at yourself from your own perspective and just celebrate being a woman, nothing beyond that. And don't ever think, you're ever inferior than a man, because I would say there is so much strength in a woman that we don't need to compare ourselves with anybody else. Just better yourself, you're better your best, and contribute to the world positively. Be a woman true to herself.
Very true.
Absolutely.
It's very well said, and you all have said it so nicely that there is nothing that we cannot achieve if we truly believe in ourselves. Believing is the prime factor that enables us to achieve whatever we want to in life. So we had such a great conversation. I'm pretty sure the audiences are going to love it. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm really thankful. I'm feeling really honored that I got the opportunity to have the conversation discussion with all four of you. Thank you so much once again. Well, friends, it was such a power-packed discussion, and I had four prominent women who are the leaders of their respective fields joining me, and I'm talking about Ms. Asna Nafis, Ms. Malini Sahani, Ms. Aarti Mahajan, and Ms. Masarrat Faqih. Feminism is not about making women stronger. Women are already strong, and it's about changing the way the world perceives that strength. There is nothing that we cannot achieve. And all we want, we are not talking about any favor. We are just talking about equality in true sense. And for that, we need to reshape our own perception of how we view ourselves. And we have to step up as women and take the lead. Thank you so much, guys. If you like this conversation, if you like this discussion, keep following That Is Qatar Day, us That Is Qatar Day on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. At the same time, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, That Is Qatar Day. And for daily updates and news, keep visiting our website, that is qatarday.com. This is Anshu Jain, your host for the show, signing off for now with the promise that I'll be back again with another power-packed session and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.